former President Donald John Trump will stand in front of a judge, likely in the building behind me, likely on Tuesday, and hear a number of charges read aloud against him. We have never seen anything like this. A former president potentially handcuffed, but certainly fingerprinted and photographed, and then put in front of cameras. The Manhattan District Attorney does have the ability, as granted by a New York judge earlier today, to say more about the indictment. He has not done so, but Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg's decision to go down this road has sent shockwaves across the country. Current President Joe Biden was one of the few elected leaders with nothing to say about the unprecedented indictment of his predecessor, Donald Trump. Meanwhile, Mr. Trump's vice president, Mike Pence, blasted the indictment, even as he may be on the verge of court-ordered testimony against the former president in a separate federal grand jury proceeding looking into the January 6th attack on the Capitol.
It's clear to the overwhelming majority of the American people that this is nothing short of a political prosecution.
Republicans nationwide have echoed that sentiment, with Staten Island and Brooklyn Congresswoman Nicole Malliotakis tweeting, "Instead of locking up dangerous career criminals wreaking havoc on our city, Alvin Bragg has chosen to abuse our tax dollars and his prosecutorial power to politically target a political foe. Shameful." Bragg's office responded to congressional Republicans in another letter Friday, using sharper language than last week, saying, quote, "It appears you are acting more like criminal defense counsel for the former president," adding that Republicans should instead address Mr. Trump's repeated promises of violence as a result of the charges, quote, "denounce these attacks and urge respect for the fairness of our justice system." Democrats, like New York City Congressman and former federal prosecutor Dan Goldman, encouraged everyone to trust the process.
No person is above the law, and we're a government of laws, not men, and certainly not one particular man. And that is all we're seeing here. We're seeing our rule of law play out as it is intended to be.
But it's fair to say we have never seen a case like this. A former president accused of paying for the silence of an adult film star weeks before his election. The source of the $130,000 in alleged payments are at the heart of the indictment. For his part, the former president is taking to his platform Truth Social to fundraise off the indictment and attack the judge who will oversee his arraignment early next week. It's the same judge who oversaw the recent trial related to the Trump Organization's finances.
This actually, in terms of the Republican primary, is very good for former President Trump. Former President Trump's superpower is sucking all the air out of the room. And everyone's talking about him all the time. And as long as people are talking about him, he is winning. If we're talking about the general election, this is almost certainly bad news.
And the politics of all of this really do speak to the uncertainty of early next week when Mr. Trump is expected to be back here in New York. To what extent he plays this up may influence the protest on the street, may influence the activity in the courtroom. And again, we still don't know the specifics of the indictment, how serious these charges are, how many there are. A lot of questions at this point. We are looking for answers.